Hello students, how are you all? Hope you are fine. So today we are going to begin with the next topic, Unit 4, 4.3, Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody is a poem whose poet is unknown. The poem deals with many things that we never bother about and live carelessly. This attitude of living like we ignore many things and even the simple codes or the everyday things that is brought to the notice by the poet. The poet also feels that instead of living negligently, we should introspect and exhibit a more responsible behavior. So kindly remove your textbook. I know a funny little man, as quiet as a mouse, who does the mischief that is done in everybody's house. There's no one ever sees his face, and yet we all agree that every plate we break was cracked by Mr. Nobody. So the poet begins by stating that there is a funny little person in every house who does all the mischief very quietly. No one can see this person's face because he does not let himself become visible as he does everything wrong. Yet all of us do agree that every plate that was found cracked, that is, the mischief was done by so called Mr. Nobody. As you can see in this picture, that the plate was being cracked. Who has done this? Mr. Nobody. The door is left open. Who has done this? It is done by Mr. Nobody, because we all have tendency that we never accept our mistakes. Tis who always tears our books, who leaves the door ajar. He pulls the buttons from our shirts and scatters pins afar. That squeaking door will always squeak. For pity, don't you see, we leave the oiling to be done by Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody is the one who always damages books by tearing them. We never tear anything, we never do anything. It is done by whom? It is done by Mr. Nobody. He leaves the door slightly open without closing it properly. Mr. Nobody also pulls away the buttons from our shirts, making them unfit for wearing. He scatters the pins here and there and afar and makes them invisible to everyone and dangerous too. We let the squeaking door squeak and do not bother to oil it because we leave the work of oiling to be done by Mr. Nobody. We do not want to take the pains to do anything responsibly. The finger marks upon the door by none of us are made. We never leave the blinds unclosed to let the curtains fade. The ink we never spill, the boots that lying around you see, are not our boots, they all belong to Mr. Nobody. We never leave finger marks upon the doors. If at all they are there, they are made by none of us. If the blinds are left unclosed, then the curtain starts fading, as we usually see in our house, that if we leave the blind unclosed and the color of the curtains, they start fading. That means the color slowly and steadily starts to fade. It becomes less. For example, dark brown means light brown and so on. So the color starts fading. Even if they remain unclosed, we are never to be blamed as we never leave them unclosed. We never spill the ink, for all this is done by Mr. Nobody. The hooks that are lying around are not ours, they belong to Mr. Nobody. And even the boots See, everything, whatever mischief is being done, it is being done by Mr. Nobody. Any certain words are there? Prithi. Prithi means it is please. Blinds means the screen of the window. And fades means, for example, when the color get loosened, or the fabric loses the color. And afar means at a far distance. So thus here we see that in this poem it is really a poem which gives us message that Mr. Nobody seems to be a very mischievous man. He is very mischievous also. You can call it he is playful also, and he is irresponsible also. He does not, because he does not handle the things with care, as he breaks the plates, and he behaves in a very careless manner by leaving the door ajar. That means by leaving the door not completely closed. He seems to be very insensitive. He does not at all oil the dough and leaves it squeaking. The noise is made, now that is known as a squeaking, you can call it. And he leaves the finger marks upon the door, and he does not keep his hands clean. He spills the ink. He leaves the book there without putting them in proper place. So here we find that as we have the habit that we always blame on the others, so the poet is throwing the light that instead of passing on the blame on other, why not keep the things in a proper manner? And the rhyming words used in the poem is, you can see, is ajar, afar, and then you can see is made, fade, and you can see house and mouse. The rhyming word is being used, house and mouse. So here are the examples of the rhyming words which is being used in this poem. So here we end our poem, and yes, we all should have that habit, or we all should inculcate that habit of keeping everything at the proper place instead of blaming on others. So I hope you all have understood the poem very well, and if you like my educational video, students, kindly like it and subscribe it. Thank you children, and God bless you all.